Hello, this is Lindsay, and it's been a while since I've done a video for Facebook or for um, our website on our family and kind of where we're at. I used to do this all the time and was in several different locations, some of which I didn't really care for. So when we were in the transplant unit, in the bathroom in the transplant unit when I would do videos. So this is nice to kind of be in my sanctuary. This is Ryan and I's room, and as you can tell, it's got pictures of the kids behind me. So I've been doing tons of videos for my elementary and middle school students. So this is kind of different, and I'm excited because some people don't know our story that started 5 years ago today. Others do. And like, for example, like Brittany Garrett, I work alongside Brittany, and she followed my blog post and all that when Maddie was on this journey 5 years ago. Others, are just new, and, they're a new family. Since we've been blessed with me being the school counselor at South Central for the elementary and middle school. So some people don't know the story. So I'm just going to kind of recap kind of briefly the story of how our journey started 5 years ago today, and then kind of give you an update on where we are now. So, yeah, 5 years ago, it's crazy. I know some of you are in your homes just really burdened with the coronavirus and just stressed out, like, how am I going to make it till tomorrow? Like, this is the worst thing ever, and really struggling right now and in this moment on this day. And the hope is this too shall pass. It does, and before you know it, it'll be something that happened 5 years ago. So 5 years ago on April 17th, it was supposed, I'm a type A personality, trying to get ahead of the game and get my kids their school physicals before the farming season went underway. I know, school physicals, August, here it is, April, overachiever. And Maddie was fussy. Being a mom of 3 kids, Maddie has always been the most difficult. She was colic. She had a bad UTI, like a few months old, and we thought that she had spinal meningitis. Like, the kid has just always kept us on our feet. And so she wasn't feeling well. I assumed it was her ears. And a good friend of ours, Kathy Vaughn, said to me, "Linz, I don't like her color, and I think you need to get to Effingham to get a CBC done," which is just to check counts. And at that moment, kind of everything changed. Loaded the 3 kids up in the car. And those of you that know the Toyota Camry, we still have it. Love that thing. The best 10 grand I've ever spent in my life. That car has been amazing. And loaded the 3 kids in the back seat, got to Effingham. We did the blood work, and those of you that know the ages of the kids. So Harrison was born in 2010. May was 2012. Sorry, May was born in 2012, and then Maddie was born in 2014. So here we are sitting, in 2015, and, the kids' age, like, they're just so little. Like, Harrison's 5, Mabry's 3, and then Maddie's not even a year old yet. So anyways, we got there, and then before we even got back to Altamont, I was getting phone calls, very concerned about Maddie's counts. They were extremely low. Hemoglobin at the time was 1 point something, and it was supposed to be in the 9s. And then her platelet count was 6, and it was supposed to be, so it was 6,000, and it was supposed to be 150,000. 5 years ago, Lindsay Lash knew nothing about medical stuff, and I would be fine not knowing any of it. And when your child ends up becoming sick, you become just like, oh my gosh, I have to figure out what I need to know. What is it that I need to know? And I did not Google through the first part of this journey. Actually, I still am not a big Googler myself, but I like to call people that I trust and say, hey, do you know what this is? God has put several experts in our life. So I just usually call them and they fill me in on the ins and outs of whatever's going on. So that journey, I ended up swinging by, picking up a bag. I was told to pack a bag because we were going to be at Cardinal Glennon for a while, and still no clue what was going on exactly. I just knew that they wanted me to turn around so they could airlift Madison from Effingham to St. Louis. And I said, why would I do that? Like, I'm already heading that direction. I'm not going to turn around. And so it wasn't until after like all of this and we got to Cardinal Glennon that I realized, okay, like what those numbers meant and how severe this was. So as soon as we got to that emergency room on the 17th, and Brittany, oh my gosh, Brittany, love Brittany. She's actually in another state now, but she was on call that evening, and, everyone thought it was leukemia. We thought that we had AML for sure. And I guess there's just so many, sometimes like whenever you're in the day-to-day, which all of you can relate to this to a certain extent, with just the coronavirus in general, like everyone was doing their own day-to-day, like their normal, quote unquote, normal. And then all of a sudden, like it just stops and it just changes, to where now like we're not in school and all this currently, but in that moment in the emergency room, it's like it just kind of, you just pause, like, what? So through that process, on the 17th, God just continued to kind of move. So Maddie was in the hospital, for that whole weekend, and, when we were in the hospital during the time for bone marrow biopsies and all of that, and through that section of what happened over that weekend, they said that it first wasn't that, and they were sending off a bunch of stuff for genetic, chromosome testing to see if it was possibly something else or if it was just a fluke and a virus attacked her immune system. So when we ended up leaving the hospital that weekend, that's what we thought, that it was just, a virus. We had the opportunity to watch, there was a bad accident that happened in a southern Illinois community, and the grandfather was taking his twin granddaughters to ice cream that had just opened, and they were hit by another car, and one of the twins died. The grandfather passed away, and then one daughter was taken to Cardinal Glennon, which was where we were, and actually where they did the bone marrow biopsy in that room, the room next to it was where this family was. And I feel like Ryan and I have been incredibly blessed with just not having had to experience tragedy and loss to the extent that some parents have experienced and that some parents will experience today. And nothing is more humbling than watching parents navigate life without a child. And that was April 17th, was actually the first of many humbling experiences where we would be able to walk alongside parents who lost a child. Something too that has been really eye-opening is like we are a piece in someone else's story as well. And the fact that we've had, and I consider it an opportunity, because we have learned so much, and Ryan and I both are just different people than we were 5 years ago, through this journey and through this process. So that was April 17th, 5 years ago. Like I said, that was kind of like, I kind of lumped it all, like the 17th, 18th, 19th and stuff together. So we walked with a family down that journey. Still pray for them daily. As we know that each day brings new challenges for them. And we continue to lift that family up. So that's kind of, like I said, where that story started. Then, in order to not make this so long, because it's already 11 minutes and people have lives and are busy, I'm going to come back on in a week. So this kind of gets you the idea of like where we were started. So we left the hospital with Maddie, and everything was fine. They said we just had to go back in 1 week. So in a week, I will get on and finish, that rest of that story. But that kind of gives you an idea of how things started. I do want to give you something to take away. And when people share their stories and kind of has happened in their life, 5 years ago, when I felt like our world had stopped, we had a choice to either focus on everything that was wrong or believe that there would be good. Believe that God would shine his light through this journey and that process. And in life, we all have that choice. We can choose to focus on the negative, or we can find the good. And my challenge for you, as all of you are at home and battling, maybe some depression and some frustration, that you look for the good, because God's light will shine through. It will. And you have to have faith, and you have to have hope in that. So in a few days, I'll be back on to the to be continued. So what happened after that April 17th? Also, I ask that you just continue to pray for our country, for our communities. As several of you guys know, that, we're not going back to school the rest of this academic school year. Just continue to provide support for the staff and the students. And also just continue to pray that we are all able to see the good that's going on in and around us during this time. See you in a couple days.